afternoon. This is Tanisha Laverne Grant with BlackInAmerica.com. I am super excited to bring to the platform someone who is very new to me, who I think the world is going to fall head over heels in love with when you learn about his story. Mr. Early Walker, who's been tapped by A&E to be a part of a show called Hustle and Toe. How are you this morning, Early, or this afternoon, I should say?
Great. Thanks for having me, Tanisha.
Oh, you're quite welcome. So, reading a little bit about your story, I thought it was really interesting when you were first getting pitched to do the show and you were ignoring the emails. You didn't think that it was something real. Let's just talk about that a moment when it finally set in for you, like, oh my God, this is a real deal. Like they really want to do a show. This is fantastic about my towing company.
Yeah, it was definitely I guess what I would call a surreal moment. This was something that actually I thought was just spam. I thought it was a spam email. It was very generic, very generic. He didn't really have a subject or a title, any of that. It was just like, hey, I think you would be great for a new show we've got coming out. Hit me back if you're interested. So I'm like, who is this playing? I didn't bother to respond. Actually, like I said, I did. I deleted it, and they sent me another one. Said, "Hey, I think this is something that would be a great opportunity. Please reach out, and if you're interested." He left a phone number, and so then that's when I decided to call. And sure enough, it was a producer from the production company, and he gave me an interview, gave some of my staff members an interview, and literally a week later, they were out.
How did they find you to even pitch you? Did you ever find that part out?
So basically, he told me that he had saw an article that blacknews.com did on us. It was about some philanthropy work that we do in the community throughout Chicago. And so he was like, man, that's different. You don't see a lot of tow truck companies this invested in their communities. And so he said that's what stood out about us. And he felt like that was the reason why we would make a great, addition to the show.
That is fantastic. So what have you learned just about yourself and being part of a major production and everything that goes into doing a show? Is it much like running a tow truck company?
It is. The good thing about this show is everything is real. I will say everything is fast paced. It was like literally, I felt like I was on the phone with them. They were interviewing, and less than a week later, they were in my office with all of these cameras. And so it was definitely very fast paced. But yeah, it's very much so. I guess it's just like every day because they're pretty much capturing what we do on a normal day basis. So sometimes you actually forget the cameras are there. That's why some of the moments in the show get real fast because it's kind of like, because when you're dealing with these customers, it's like, and some of these customers, their attitudes and how they are, they don't understand.
Getting told.
Yeah. But it gets very interesting. It does get very interesting. And that's one of the things I like about the show is that nothing's fake. Everything is real.
Wow. So why a tow truck company? Why did you want to start a business in the towing industry?
So interesting enough, I come from an entrepreneurship background. My dad is an entrepreneur. He actually is an electrician by trade. And it's funny because you never could have told me I would be in the towing industry. I walked off my job. I wanted to do something with myself other than working 9 to 5. And so I started a small car lot. And so it's interesting because of the car lot is actually how I got into the towing. So when I started the car lot, I got tired of paying the tow truck drivers to deliver my cars. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna buy me a tow truck so I can alleviate that, because that was starting to add up to where it was like, man, like I'm paying all this money, man, I can just do this myself. And so when I bought the tow truck, and it was funny because it was a raggedy truck too at that. I thought in my mind that trucks were cheap. Well, I didn't know they were as much as they were. So I had $7,500 saved up. So I bought this truck, and it was a raggedy old Fred Sanford and Son truck. But so I bought the truck, and so I kind of like started to gain like a little passion for it. So much so to where I actually started. I left the car dealership and I started going full-fledged with the towing. So I was going door to door trying to get customers, which wasn't easy because everybody was looking at my truck like, I'm not letting you tow my car, you know. So but it worked out. It was actually a blessing in disguise because I'm here today, you know. And like I said, it was one of those things where honestly it was almost by accident how I got into the business, because I wasn't necessarily going into the tow business. I was just trying to alleviate one problem, which turned into today.
That is amazing. So what are some of the you talk about the philanthropic work that you do in Chicago. Let's talk a little bit about that and what made you want to get into philanthropy in Chicago.
So I come from a giving background family. My family, my dad was a huge giver. We were that family that was going out, giving to the homeless, giving to the
Mm.
needy. On Christmas, most families were in the house opening their gifts. Well, we were at the jails with the inmates, spending Christmas with them, as a give back, as a form of, because hey, they're incarcerated, they can't be with their families. So, I mean, we
Wow.
would do things like that on a normal, and so that always stuck with me. And I always told myself, if I ever got to a point where I can give back, if I can help out, I would. I mean, I come from a low income based community, the west side of Chicago, and so I always said that if I ever get to the point of being able to give back in any type of way, I definitely would.
What is one of the most popular activations that you guys do in terms of giving back?
So so let me start with my first give back, which is kind of what led to, I guess, the outburst. So I was actually, this is when my company was fairly new. I think I was maybe wasn't even a year in business, and I was on my way home. Actually, I just finished up, and so it was a young lady stuck in the middle of the road, and literally like blocking traffic and everything. So I was in my tow truck. So I pulled up, I get out, I walk up to the window, I knock on the window, she was crying. And so I said, is everything okay, ma'am? She said, no. She said, my car's cut off. So she looked back, she saw that I was in the tow truck, and she said, just go ahead because I don't have any money. She was like, so
Oh,
just go ahead. I said, well, if you stay here, you're going to get towed one way or another, and it's not going to be the price that it would be if I told. She said, well, I don't have any money, so they're just going to have to do what they got to do. So she was crying, and so I felt bad. So I said, okay, you know what? I said, come on, I'll tell you for free. Where are you going? So she told me, she said, well, I don't stay far from here. So I noticed that she had three little kids in the car with her as well. And so
oh,
I got
wow.
all of them out, threw them in my truck. We all piled in. And so when I told her, as I was towing her home, she broke out crying again. And so I said, ma'am, I'm towing you for free. What's wrong? And so she was like, no, this is just a horror. I mean, I'm leaving out the part. This is right before Christmas as well. And so she broke out crying, and she said, man, she said, this is the worst Christmas ever. She said, here it is, Christmas, a couple days before Christmas. I don't have any gifts for my kids. I don't have a Christmas tree for my kids. She's like, now my car's broke down. She's like, this is just
Mm,
horrible.
mm.
And so that kind of hit home for me. So when I dropped her off, I left there, went to a local store. I picked her up a Christmas tree. I picked her kids up some gifts. And I came back and I knocked on the door and I surprised her. And from then on is when I knew the calling of my business. I was like, you know what? This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so literally from then on, I mean, it's kind of expanded. I mean, in addition to me doing a Christmas giveaway every year, I do Thanksgiving turkey giveaways. We pretty much come to the call of duty for pretty much anything.
Mm.
Texas, when they had the hurricane, I just took down truckloads of water to Texas and Memphis when they had the water crisis. Flint, Michigan, when they had the water crisis, we took water down there. I always come to the call of duty for gun violence, especially when it comes to kids getting killed. I have a passion for children. And so I started a non-for-profit called I'm Telling Don't Shoot as a result of that. And so
What's the nonprofit called early?
I'm Telling Don't Shoot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How long
And
have you
so
had that? I'm telling don't shoot.
it's about a year now. It's actually maybe going on a year. And it's a group of business owners that I've collaborated with. And we basically put our dollars together to combat crime in Chicago. So we put up money, we award monies to find the killers and shooters of individuals that are shooting our kids. And so this is an initiative I started that I'm very passionate about, and it's been working. We've become the new Crime Stoppers, I guess, so to speak. And so I do a lot of stuff. I'm very passionate about my community. I always say I feel like it's every business owner's responsibility to give back to the community that allows them to be a business. And
I love
so
that because
I don't.
I'm sorry, it truly is
Nope.
about collective work and responsibility.
Absolutely.
Like you weren't just given and benefiting from this opportunity just solely for yourself. We don't have
Right.
these platforms to just solely benefit for ourselves. It's about getting these stories out there, getting the narratives out there. In your personal opinion, what do you think is one of the biggest misnomers that people have about owning a tow truck company?
I think, and people think it's easy. And when I say that, I mean, people don't take into account the overall of being a tow operator. And what I mean by that is, so yeah, you see us pull up, we tow your car away, but take into account the fact that most tow operators are on call 24/7. Take into account that every 6 days, a tow truck operator loses his life. And a lot of individuals don't pay
I'm sorry, what
attention
did
to
you
it.
say? Every 6 days, a tow truck operator what?
Loses his life. His or her life, I should say.
Every 6 days?
Yes. Every 6 days, a tow truck operator loses his or her life. And it's usually due to an individual not paying attention, usually due to a tow operator being on the side of the road. In the show, we actually do talk about the move over law as well. Actually, the last episode, a tow truck operator died. This was all real during the show. A tow truck operator was on the side of the road. Yep, on the side of the road. They didn't show that part, of course, but they talked about the death, talked about how he died, and they showed all of the tow operators coming together to remember him. So it's real, and those are the things I think that are the biggest misconceptions is that we want to go home at the end of the night as well. And so you hear the police officers, you hear the stories of the ambulance firefighters, and I mean, oftentimes you'll see individuals move over, when they see those vehicles. But what about us? You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest misconception is that, yeah, I mean, we work long hours as well. We're the bad guys until you break down on the side of the road and need some help. Now,
Wow.
when your car overheats or you got a flat tire, oh, you can't wait to see us. You know what I mean? So those are the things I think that I would say would be the biggest misconceptions.
What is the anatomy of a towing company, just in terms of the business component? Like, is there a specific state license that you have to obtain? How many are there? Are there hours of like on ground study coursework that you have to take?
So
To
yeah,
get this particular license?
yes. So there are various different safety classes. All trucks have to be insured, of course, which is not cheap. You have
How
your
many trucks
local
do you have in your fleet of towing?
17.
Oh, wow, early.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So I have
amazing.
17.
This is amazing.
Yeah. So I have 17 trucks. And so that's another thing too. See, individuals don't understand. All of these trucks have to be insured. All of these trucks have to have what they call an ICC number, which is the Illinois Commerce Commission number. That cost. So all of those type of things are things that the regular person doesn't pay attention to. And so even when we're charging these fees, all of that has to be accounted for. And so people look at it like, oh, you charging me $100 for a tow. Well, listen, if one of our tires blow out, it's $300. So if a winch cable snaps, it's $150. You know what I mean? And so those are the types of things that you as the consumer wouldn't know, which is not for you to know. But those are the fees that are attached to us running these trucks.
Wow. Are there any women that you have on your roster?
So yeah, so not physically operating trucks. My sister actually is my office manager. She's in the show.
I saw that.
Yep. So she's in the show, and then also Malika, which is the dispatcher, she's in the show as well. One of the things I do like about the show is that it's very diverse. So there are 2 other states that have women tow operators, one in Delaware and one in New York. And so I do like that too, because it does show that it's not just a guy's industry,
Yeah.
and it shows what they have to deal with just being women.
Yeah,
So
I can only imagine. I can
yeah.
only imagine. What are some of the safety classes, or some of the safety components? I mean, when you talk about, every 6 days, a driver is killed. I'm like, that just, that blows my mind. That
Yeah.
blows my mind. I know there is like the vest that they wear, but what else can the, towing officers do? Or are they just called towers, towing officers? Like, what can they do to help better protect themselves when they're out in the
So
field like that? Because every 6 days, I'm
yeah.
still trying to wrap my mind around that.
Yeah. Yeah. So the correct term we call towing operators or tow operators.
Towing up.
And so it's really, I mean, outside of wearing your high vis, which is what you're talking about, your pants, your top, your vest, there's really nothing else that we can do personally. It's just a matter of the individuals that are driving paying attention, and unfortunately, I mean, a lot of individuals, a lot of these tow operators are being killed because people, driving, drunk drivers, DUIs, not paying attention, going too fast, texting and driving, by the time you look up, it's too late, and so it's really just a matter of paying attention to the lights, paying attention to our lights. They actually have been putting into Senate to pass to get our lights to be able to be red and blues as well for that
Mm,
reason.
mm.
Because
Now we're talking.
studies, yeah, studies show that individuals will pay more attention to red and blues, before they pay attention to amber. And so there are different laws that are in the Senate as we speak that they're trying to pass to be able to push these different agenda items forward, for the betterment of us.
Oh, watching the show, what do you want viewers to understand about, a Black man entrepreneur in the towing industry? What do you want that takeaway to be?
I think there's a bad stigma on tow operators that we are all bad guys. And so I do pride myself in, being one of those that gives back in a large way. I'm not just the individual that's taking from my community, that's taking dollars out of the community and not
Mm,
putting it back. And so I want that to set the tone for not just tow operators, but every business owner across America that, hey, it is our job to give back to the community. The only way the community survives is if we continue to support the community. And that's only going to be done with our dollars, and so I do want that to be something that resonates not just locally but globally. And so I am excited that this show does display some of my philanthropy work. It does show that there is still humility, there is still empathy, in the world, because I think that these last couple of years have taught us all that if nothing else, we all need to learn how to stick together. And so I think that this show dispels that all tour operators are not the bad guys.
I love that. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Early Walker. Brand new show, brand new series on A&E, Hustle and Tow. Hustle and Tow. Tune in. I know your episode airs tomorrow night, correct?
Actually, yes. So first time, not first time with airing, but tomorrow night they do 2 30-minute back to back. So actually tomorrow night we're back to back and we're on both episodes. So I'm excited about that too.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm super excited for you. Thank you so much for joining us today on Black in America. I cannot wait to see what's coming down the pipeline for you. I would like to get more information. Where can we donate to some of your organizations in terms of like the Christmas giveaway? If people wanted to make a financial contribution or a physical contribution, be it a toy or anything, how can we do that before
So
we
you can
wrap?
find out more information on my website, www.wwtowing.com. And there you'll have links as well as our social media handles and various things like that. Also, my not-for-profit website is www.imtellingdon'tshoot.com. And you can find information there. But if you go to my towing website, all of the information is on there as well.
So guys, make sure you tune into the show, Hustle and Tow. It comes on A&E, 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. This is something you do not want to miss. It is entertaining and also educational, so edutainment, and we are always here for edutainment. Again, Tanisha Laverne Grand for blackinamerica.com.